Welcome to Spoil Your Appetite. I'm Tristan. So, yeah, today is going to be a top 5 episode along with ranking all of the comic book movies that came out this year. So, yeah, I'm doing a top 5 for DC movies, DC animated movies, and top 5 Marvel Cinematic Universe movies. So, let's get down to it. Let's start with DC movies. Now, when I say DC movies, I'm referring to every DC movie that's been out there, from, the Adam West Batman movie to what we last have now, which is Suicide Squad, which came out this week or last week. So I'm talking all DC movies, not just your DC Cinematic Universe movies. So with that being said, I'm going to start from number 5, which is pretty much what got me into this genre of comics and whatnot. So this is a movie, it's Batman, the very first Tim Burton 1989 Keaton Batman, which is, I want to say, is my first time seeing Batman, being first introduced to the Dark Knight himself. I really can't remember if Adam West came first or the Keaton Batman came first. But I'm going to go with Keaton Batman because I do have vague memories of being scared shitless of Jack Nicholson's Joker. Because, as with most kids, I was afraid of clowns when I was younger. Not so much today, but yeah, I was afraid of clowns younger. So that is what that's what I really remember when I first saw this as a kid. So yeah, Batman 1989. I mean, I can still watch this movie. I mean, for a while, Keaton has been my favorite Batman. Even when the Christian Bale Batman movies were going on, Keaton was still my favorite Batman. He just had this just the comic book feel to it in a way. And he is my second favorite Batman now because, Ben Affleck, I feel like he is very comic book accurate, even though he kills a lot of people in Batman v Superman. But whatever. Batman 1989, I can still watch this, even though, knowing what I know now in the comics, there are some things that are kind of jarring, like, Batman does kill in this movie. Like, people tend to forget that, Michael Keaton's Batman did kill. Like, every live-action Batman killed in a way. Like, even though it's not, like, you don't think about it until, like, the last minute. Like, how everyone flips out about Batman, Ben Affleck's Batman kills a lot of people. And I always go back to, like, well, Keaton's Batman killed people. And I think the one Batman that hasn't killed is George Clooney. Like, I mean, here's the thing with the Batman killing in these movies. It's not really him, like, choking them or, like, shooting them with a gun or whatever, but it's whatever. But Batman 1989 holds a very special place in my heart because this is the first time I'm introduced to this genre of comic books and whatnot. And, yeah, it's really, I can still enjoy it, even though there are some things where I'm just like, knowing what I know now, as I said, with the comics, some things are just kind of weird, like Joker falls in love with Vicky Vale, and it's just like, Joker in this movie is pretty much a perv at moments, but hey, I still enjoy this movie. My number 4 of my top 5 DC movies, I'm going to go with the sequel, Batman Returns. Now, this is a movie that is kind of like, it's very interesting to watch. To go from the 1989 Batman to this, it's really interesting because Tim Burton adds his, Tim Burton flair to it. Like, you look at 1989, you wouldn't even think that that was made by Tim Burton. Like, oh, this is a Tim Burton movie. Like, you wouldn't notice. Like, if you know anything about Tim Burton, he has a certain look and style to his movies. And with this, you could totally tell this was Burton's movie. Whereas with 1989, you could have, like, you didn't really know if it was Tim Burton that did it because he doesn't add his, that style and look to it. But with Batman Returns, I don't know what it is about this movie. It's just so weird and pretty damn awesome. Like, it's got my favorite, Batman moment of all time. My favorite, well, not my favorite all time, but my second favorite Batman moment in a movie, which is it's when he's getting rid of this bomb, and out of nowhere, he's walking, trying to he's ready to get rid of this bomb. A goon, one of Penguin's goons, jumps out, and Batman, without even looking at him, just hits him and just throws him off. I'm just like, that is so Batman, because Batman is a character who, you don't really see that. You don't really see the Batman who's like 2 steps ahead of everyone. You don't really see that. And that's kind of one of the things that I love about Batman, is that he's prepared. He's always prepared. And, we don't really see that much in the movies. We get it much in the animation stuff, like Justice League, the animated series, and stuff like that. But yeah, Batman Returns is an interesting sequel. It's just so weird. And, sure, like, I understand when it comes to changing characters, much like when it comes to comics to movies. Like, I get that so much. Like, and that's why I kind of much, let it go for the 1989 Jack Nicholson's Joker, even though that's not comic book Joker in certain scenes. I can let it go. And this goes the same to Danny DeVito's Penguin, which is, my Penguin is a mafia gangster. Like, he's all about controlling the guns. It's basically like, you look at the Arkham games, so, like, that is my Penguin. Like, that's the Penguin. That's my my favorite portrayal of the character. I just think it fits better and whatnot. So with this, it's really, what is there to say about Batman Returns? I mean, it's sort of like an interesting, weird sequel that actually you can tell it's Tim Burton's movie. So yeah, with that, Batman Returns is my number 4, my top 5 DC movies. My number 3, I'm gonna go with Superman 2. Now, yeah, you would think that Superman, the movie, the first Superman Christopher Reeve movie, would have been my top number 3. But I love Superman 2 more because, he's actually going up against someone who's just as powerful as he is. And it's really great. And also because, Superman in this movie wants to be normal. He does get rid of his powers. And, at one point, he sees, the news that Zod has taken over Washington. And he has to get these powers back. And when he does, he's just going at Zod with everything he's got in this movie. And, it's really wonderful. And towards the end, it is kind of funny with the whole, Superman throwing the silicone chest at one of Zod's guards or something. It's stuff like that I really love about this movie, even though it's like, it's just so fun. Like, it's a fun movie to watch, and it's great. So, Superman 2, I love it so much because it's Zod, it's Zod and Superman going up against each other. It's Superman actually, a Superman movie that, he goes up against someone who's just as powerful as he is. More of, someone who's not like Lex Luthor, who's not like smart. He is, I would say Zod is pretty smart and, strong as Superman, and that's what I love about this movie. So, yeah, Superman 2, my number 3 movie. With number 2 on my top 5 DC movies, we're getting to there, aren't we? I gotta go with, it may shock some people that, a big DC fan that I am. and that this character is my favorite, and my favorite superhero of all time. This may shock a lot of people, but my number 2 spot is, of course, the greatest, probably will forever be the greatest Batman movie ever, and that is The Dark Knight. This, like, even now, like, I would say when I first watched this, I think I was 12 when this came out. And for me, at least, you don't think of certain things. You don't, like, you love it for what it is. As a kid, for me, I always loved the action beats and not more of the storytelling. But, every time I watch this now that I'm older, I appreciate this movie even more and just love it. Even though, as I said in previous episodes, that I don't like the look of Christian Bale's bat suit. I don't like the look of the Joker, but it's all about performance in the end. And what will always be to some people that this is the greatest Joker ever. And, I don't blame them because, it was a tall order in the first place, trying to top Jack Nicholson's Joker back in 1989. And nowadays, like, this probably will be forever the best Joker, that for most people, that is. It really is a great Joker for me. I love that you feel that you don't know where this character is going to go. Like, you feel that, one of the things that makes Joker great in the comics is that he can be very unpredictable. And this one, you do feel like you don't know what he's going to do next. You don't know what is his overall plan. Like, you get his overall plan, but how is he going to achieve it? And it's so unpredictable. Also, Two-Face. Probably the best Two-Face ever. I mean, if you take out the whole him in love with Rachel and whatnot, he's a great Two-Face. But it's not about comic book accuracy in these movies, but the portrayal and performance is just great when it comes to Two-Face. And, he's certainly definitely better than Tommy Lee Jones's Two-Face because, with Tommy Lee Jones's Two-Face, he was just basically doing what, Jack Nicholson's Joker was, just very campy. At the time, these weren't taken as seriously. They were just their inspiration, like, the thing that they could look at at that time, like, after Tim Burton was fired and Joel Schumacher took over. His inspiration with Batman Forever and Batman and Robin very much feels like, it's sort of, at the time, it was that modern day of the 66 Batman, Adam West. But anyways, with The Dark Knight, I feel it will forever be the greatest Batman movie. Certainly, it'll be it for a while. Like, I can just tell, even with Ben Affleck's Batman movie, which I'm not saying is going to be horrible or whatever, but I don't think, at least for all of us, it's going to be better than The Dark Knight, which I don't think it should be. Like, there should not be this expectation where, every Batman film we get, it has to be better than The Dark Knight, because that's like at least for me, trying to top, every Star Wars movie we get, it's got to be better than Empire Strikes Back, because for me, Empire Strikes Back is, like, the best Star Wars movie, just because it doesn't really end on a happy note. And, it's a tall order to do that for me when it comes to Star Wars, but I will still watch any Star Wars movie, and, I will not have this expectation where it has to be better than Empire Strikes Back. Like, I will enjoy it for what it is. As long as it feels like it is Star Wars, then I'm good. So, yeah, The Dark Knight, greatest Batman movie ever, for everyone, for most people at least. So, yeah. So, we're down to my number 1. And, if it's not The Dark Knight, that was my number 1, what could it be? I mean, I know everyone is wondering, what the hell is my number 1 favorite my favorite DC movie? Live action, that is. My favorite DC movie. And, honestly, I have to go with Man of Steel. Like, it is Man of Steel. And, this movie is so diverse. Like, everyone is, like, it's so half and half with people. You know, for me, this was a movie that means a lot to me because of the fact that this is the movie that made me want to go out and collect comics. And you would think, for someone who loves Batman, you would have thought that, he's a comic book collector because he saw Tim Burton's Batman 1989. But no, it was really Man of Steel that really got me into it, because as a kid, I had, like, comics. Like, I didn't collect comics, but I had, like, a box of comics, and I would read them. But it wasn't enough for me to be like, oh, I want to collect more and more and, be a collector of this stuff. And, I would always get my information from, about, comic book history from my father. But it wasn't until I saw Man of Steel, and this was a movie that, if you go back and watch or listen to one of my, like, before this movie came out, I was very, like, people were uptight about, Superman not having red underwear, on the outside, and it's just like, well, do we really need that? And my thing was like, well, I want to see the curl, but at the end of it, there are some things that, they won't do, like, and there are some things they will do, but the curl doesn't matter. Like, the curl does not define Superman. It's all about the character and how he's portrayed. So, with Man of Steel, as I said, this is my favorite DC movie because of the fact that it got me into comics. I saw this movie on opening day, and even with the first trailer I saw, pretty much every trailer that I saw for it, I was just so, like, blown away. There was something about it that I started to have this obsession of, like, wanting to look at Superman history. And what really caught my eye was, of course, the death of Superman, which I have to admit, I liked it, but I won't say it's a comic that needs to be, like, transferred, like, from page to page to a movie, because it's not, I would love to see their version of the death of Superman and not, like, the comic version, even though we probably won't get it anytime soon, because unless they, reboot this whole DC cinematic universe. But anyways, Man of Steel, I love it because, again, the factor of that, it got me into wanting to collect comics, and because, this felt like Superman. Like, for me, this was like a modern take on Superman. He's very conflicted about what he wants to be. Like, what should he, like, he has these powers, he doesn't know what he should be. Like, his fathers want different things, like, Kent, Pa Kent wants him to be, not show these powers. Like, he doesn't, like, Pa Kent, what I get from is, like, he doesn't, like, Pa Kent just doesn't want him to be that hero unless he feels comfortable. While Jor-El is more of like, you have these powers, you can save them all. Like, you can do whatever you want. Just, you can be that hope for these people and whatnot. And really, like, he struggles with that. And that's what I really love about it. And, for me, I will never understand why people hate it. Just because of the fact that it's probably because people don't like this movie because it's not, the Superman from the comics, or it's your Christopher Reeve Superman movie. Which, that I say, just, there are some things you've got, like, we live in a different era and whatnot. We live in this, like, dark world at times. And why not do it the same with Superman? And, granted, I do think he will, this Henry Cavill Superman, later on in the DC Cinematic Universe, he will be that hope for Superman people want. But I feel for this, it's an origin story, and he's only been, like, Superman for a day. Like, he's had these powers, but he hasn't used them, like, he's not using them daily and whatnot. And he got to be a hero, like a straight up hero to save the whole world and not just some oil rig or whatever. And yeah, I love that. And the fighting, of course. It's great. Like, as my father put it, this is how Superman fights. Like, it's really wonderful. So yeah. So let's go over my top 5 DC movies. Number 5, the 1989 Batman movie. Number 4, Batman Returns. Number 3, Superman 2. 2, The Dark Knight, and my number 1 of my top DC movies, Man of Steel. So, let's move right into, speaking of DC, let's move right into my top 5 DC animated movies. Oh, wait, hold on. Before we get into it, I just want to make some honorable mentions of DC movies. V for Vendetta. I mean, I can't remember the last time I saw it, but I really enjoy that film, and I think it's just I don't know if I would want to see another reboot or remake, but if they do it, I will see it, but I don't think it will be as good as, that first V for Vendetta movie. But hey, if they do decide to make it, and I'm just hoping it will be just as good. And my other honorable mention is Watchmen. Even though there are some things I don't really like about it, like the two things that kind of bugged me about Watchmen was certain cast and the whole reveal. Spoilers for Watchmen. The whole reveal that what's her name? The girl with why am I forgetting her name? I think her name is Lori. Lori finding out that the comedian is her father in the movie. Like, it was so much better in the comic, and I'm hoping that HBO somehow, like, I know it's old news, but I still hope that HBO somehow figures out a way to do a mini-series of Watchmen, because I feel like that's the best way to go with the Watchmen. Overall, the Watchmen movie, I thought was pretty good. I even with my minor upsets with it. But anyways, alright. So let's get down to my top 5 DC animated movies. Starting with number 5, Justice League War. Now, this is very much based off of the New 52 comic and whatnot. Basically, the formation, the origin of how the Justice League came together and whatnot. And for me, I liked it. And, seeing Cyborg's origin in this movie, which I don't even know if he ever had an origin until the New 52. But I really like the origin, and I like that they're going with that in the DC cinematic universe. So yeah, Justice League War, I love it. I love just how, it's their first time, and it just shows that in the movie, Batman, like, that's how I would have imagined, in a certain way that Batman v Superman would have gone down in this movie. Just like in Justice League War, that, Batman just throws everything he's got at him. He hasn't studied him enough to know what his weaknesses are, and Superman's just not even phased, like, he's not even, like, taking serious damage at all. And so, yeah, like, that's how I imagine a Batman and Superman fight goes down. Like, Superman wins if, Batman hasn't studied him, and they're just meeting for the first time. And Batman wins because, he studied him, he knows him, and whatnot. So yeah, Justice League War. It's my number 5. Going with number 4, I gotta go with Flashpoint. The Flashpoint, which is Barry Allen goes back in time, saves his mom, creates this whole new dimension and whatnot, and it's just, I love it. Like, I really liked it. I like how it was dark, and that you see Aquaman and Wonder Woman just go at it, and then you got, like, your side characters, like, Thomas Wayne as Batman, great, and, like so many things that just change, and it's just, like, it's a great concept, and I truly love it. And Diana Prince and Aqualad going at it in this movie, just, it makes so much sense. God versus God, in a way, in this movie. So yeah, Flashpoint. My number 3 for my top 5 DC anime movies, Throne of Atlantis. Now, I've gotten into Aquaman with the New 52 because I've heard that Jeff Johns' Aquaman New 52 is great. And honestly, I loved it. Even though I've read, all of Jeff Johns' run on this, it is very different from the comic, and that's fine. That's totally fine. And I love Throne of Atlantis because it kind of shows you that how much of a Aquaman can be. And, he will always be the butt of the joke, but for me, for me, I think he's really cool because, you know, the world is built mainly of water, and we haven't seen everything that's in the ocean and whatnot. So yeah, Throne at Atlantis, I can't remember, but I don't know if this is in the movie because it's been a while since I've seen it, but in the comic, I remember at one point Aquaman takes down every Justice League member, and it's just like, oh my god, it's so brutal. Like, he doesn't really kill them, but he's trying to convince his brother, who wants to take over the land, the surface dwellers, as they call them, because apparently Atlantis has been attacked by surface dwellers, which, I won't spoil who does it, but, well, I have to, because Black Manta is basically behind it, and, that really sets off Aquaman's brother, who wants to just take out the surface dwellers and whatnot, and so, Aquaman pleads the Justice League to let him go talk to him, and just, calm him down, just not do this, and, Aquaman's getting there, and then the Justice League comes around, just like, okay, you've had your time, we can't wait any longer, and, it's not working, so Aquaman just takes them all down. It's so great. I don't know if it happens in the animated movie, but if it does, then, yeah, that's pretty much my favorite part of it all. So, for my number 2 spot is Justice League Doom. This just shows you how far Batman can go. This is a great movie. Kind of gives you, kind of gives you the perspective of Batman and how he can just take down every Justice League member. He has these plans that can take down the Justice League members, and it's so wonderful. In the movie, it's basically, the Legion of Doom takes Batman's plans of taking down the Justice League. Not necessarily killing them, but, putting them down for a bit. And then the Legion of Doom gets these plans and basically, tampers with those plans and makes them where they can kill the Justice League members. And so, I love it. And it's Batman having to save every member's ass from his plan. Well, his plan that gets kind of jumbled around and reconfigured. And so I love it. And my favorite part, of course, is when he goes to Hal Jordan and Hal Jordan is telling him, I have the most powerful weapon in the universe, and I couldn't even save her. And Batman is just it's not your fault. And just a great dialogue between Lantern and Batman, and it's great. And at the last minute, Batman's just I've seen a dead body, and that's not one of them. And it's basically a cyborg, and it's just, it's so great. And, yeah, and by the end of it all, I love the fact that at the end of it, he's telling them, it's look, we have to be, the time will come when one of us goes rogue, or all of us. We are too dangerous to fail something so simple and growing rogue about it, so we need these plans. And basically, at the end of it, he gets kicked out, and Superman comes to him, and he's just you made all these plans, but you never made one for yourself. And he's like, I did have a plan. It's called the Justice League. And it's just that just shows you what kind of person Bruce/Batman is. And it's just, I love it. Seriously, if you have not seen Justice League Doom, you should, because of the fact that it's Batman. It's Batman has these plans, and that can just not kill, but immobilize, the Justice League members. So, we're down to my number 1, and my number 1 is, of course, how can this not be my number 1? Batman: The Dark Knight Returns, the animated movie. And it's really wonderful. It is from page to page, like the comic book. And, it's so great. And who is it? RoboCop? Peter Weller voices Batman in this? Great. Look, my favorite voice actor for Batman will always be Kevin Conroy. And for this, it would have been great to hear Kevin Conroy because he has done old Bruce Wayne in Batman Beyond. But, there's something about Peter Weller as the Dark Knight Returns Batman, and it just fits so well. Like, when he lowers his voice in certain scenes, it's so wonderful. And honestly, this will forever be my favorite DC animated movie. Like, I don't think there will ever be a better DC animated movie, for me at least, than this one, because it is so true to the comic, and it's wonderful. And like, it's kind of crazy. Like, it would be better if this movie would be better if you had the whole inner monologue, dialogue stuff in this movie. But, they cut that out. Either way, it's Batman: The Dark Knight Returns animated movie is fucking wonderful. Alright, let's get out of the DC world, and let's finally talk about Marvel. So, my top 5 Marvel movies, as in my top 5 Marvel Cinematic Universe movies. So, starting with number 5, which is sort of the beginning of this Marvel Cinematic Universe, I gotta go with Iron Man. It like, even today, it's so wonderful, and it kind of is like, why isn't 2 just as great as the first one? Like, why aren't the sequels just as good, if not better, than the first one? Who knows? But Iron Man, the first Iron Man movie, it's great. It sets it off. It's so great. And, Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man, Tony Stark. Like, look, I've never been familiar with Robert Downey Jr. or his work, but, from what people are saying, that is very much Robert Downey Jr. is very much, like, that's him. Like, he's playing himself, basically, in this movie, and I'm just like, oh, I didn't know that. So, yeah, I love Iron Man. It's like, it kicks it off, and it's just like, without Iron Man, you don't get, your Captain America Civil War, you don't get the Avengers, you don't get, all these other Marvel movies that we have now, that we take for granted. It all starts with Iron Man. Like, if this failed, who knows where we'd be at now? Like, who knows if we ever get a Marvel Cinematic Universe if it wasn't this good? So, yeah. Number 5, Iron Man. I mean, what else is there to say that hasn't been said already? So, yeah. Number 4, I gotta go with Captain America Winter Soldier. Like, this was pretty much the plot twist of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, where turns out Hydra was in S.H.I.E.L.D. Like, Hydra was basically was part of the building factor of S.H.I.E.L.D. And it's really great. I also love the fact that Captain Steve Rogers is having to deal with the modern world and how everything has changed. Like, the world he knows, the politics and all that stuff, the world he used to know, it's gone. It's totally, times have changed, and it's really great. I love that aspect of it. And kind of, like, even with that beginning act of it, kind of shows you how powerful Captain America is. Where, like, at one point, he kicks a dude so hard, and the dude just goes over the rail. Like, it's pretty crazy. Like, that's how powerful, like, that's a great example of what kind of super soldier he is. Like, it's so wonderful. So, and yeah, I knew who the Winter Soldier was going in, and, I kind of learned my lesson because I kind of commented on, the trailer saying, like, I can't wait to see some of the lines of, like, revealing that Bucky was the Winter Soldier. And, I got a lot of, like, hate for it, and I was just like, okay, yeah, that was my bad. Sorry for the dick move. Like, my bad. Like, I know not everyone knows their comic book history, but still, my bad. Like, and that's kind of the thing where I'm just like, yeah, I'm not gonna, I will never do that again. So, yeah, my bad. So, yeah, number 4, Winter Soldier. Number 3, for my number 3 spot in my top 5 Marvel Cinematic Universe movies, is a movie that, I didn't really want to see I kind of had my doubts about it of not, like, I don't know what it was, but the trailers were not, hooking with me. But I finally saw it, and that was a moment where I was just like, I should never have any doubts when it comes to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And my number 3 is, of course, Guardians of the Galaxy. Yeah, like, I don't know what it was. Like, I really don't know what it was, why I wasn't hooked. Like, why I wasn't hooked on a feeling as, that song plays in that movie. I don't know what it was, but, I finally saw it because I saw my peers who were all, like, raving about it, saying it's basically this generation Star Wars before Star Wars came back a year later. But, yeah, I had to see it, and I was just like, I was so taken away from it, and, space, and all these the visuals and stuff, and the bright colors, just so wonderful. And the characters, like, come on, Drax, the Destroyer. The fact that he takes everything literal is so amazing. And, yeah, that, like I said, this was a movie that I don't know what it was, but I just wasn't really getting on board with it. And when I saw it, it made my top 5, obviously. So, Guardians of the Galaxy, such a great, wonderful movie with great characters and just really amazing. And you get to see Thanos for more, like, you see him more ever in this movie than, what we got from the first Avengers. So yeah, for my number 2 spot, and this is kind of like, well, I won't compare it, but my number 2 spot is the first Avengers movie. So we get all 4 of these standalone movies, and it builds up to this team-up movie, which some people want that from the DC movies, which, for me, I've said, it could go either way for me. Like, I don't need to see, because, with the Justice League, there's like 7 to 8 members, and it's like, you all really want to wait that fucking long to see the Justice League movie? Like, come on now. But, yeah, Avengers. Get 4 standalone movies, and it pays off in a big, bad way. Like, I saw this in IMAX, and, this was the last movie I saw in IMAX, and it's, like, even now, it's so damn fun to watch. Like, it's the best team movie, comic book movie that I've seen. Like, better than, your X-Men movies. Like, because it doesn't revolve around, one character. Like in X-Men, the original Bryan Singer X-Men, it revolves around, it's more about, Wolverine and X-Men. But, I still enjoy those movies, but with the Avengers, it very much feels like a team movie and whatnot. It's not centered around, like, it's about this character. No, it's about all these characters and, all their teams and whatnot. The Avengers will forever be, my favorite team-up movie ever. So, and my favorite part, of course, of the movie is when Iron Man and Thor get in it, when, they have Loki in custody, and Thor wants him back and put him back in prison in Asgard, and, they're going at it. Just a great fight scene, and then Captain America comes in and is just like, hey, knock it off. Like, and he's like, why don't you just put down that hammer? And Iron Man's like, oh, no, he loves his hammer, and, Thor just smacks him back, and Thor's, like, really pissed off, and he's like, you want me to put the hammer down? And just comes down on Cap, and Cap just raises his shield, and, hits the shield and the trees, and, like, it's just, the trees are all falling, like, it is clear, and that is my favorite movie, my favorite part of that movie, because it's just so amazing. So, my number 1 spot, and my top 5 favorite Marvel movies, a movie that just came out this year, Captain America Civil War. Now, what is there to say about this? Like, I don't feel this is a movie you could have done in the beginning. Whereas with Batman v Superman, I felt you could have gone either way. You could have had that either in the beginning or towards the end. But But with Captain America Civil War, I feel this is a movie you couldn't really do in the beginning. And why I love this movie so much is because of the characterization. Like, we've seen, we've had, 8 years of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We've had all these, sequels and whatnot. Like, you get where they're coming from. If you've seen the movies, like, seen the Iron Man standalone movies and the Captain America movies, like, you know where they're coming from in this movie. Like, Iron Man, he was all about, doing the right thing, doing it his way and not, the government's way, like not giving weapons to, the military and whatnot, because, they kind of really screwed him over with that. And with Captain America, he's all by the book, do it by the book, and then towards, then it's until we get to this movie where, Tony Stark feels like, hey, like, look, I've seen what happens when, we don't do it by the book. I am the cause of, creating Ultron. I'm the cause. I started this all. Like, I started this when I started putting on that suit. And with Captain America, he's on the side of, like, I've seen what happens when we trust our government too much. And, like, what if they send us somewhere where we don't want to go? And that alone, like, that's why I appreciate this movie so much, because you get where Tony Stark and Steve Rogers are standing, like, coming from. And even with the additions of Black Panther and Spider-Man, like, oh my god, like, people will say Spider-Man was the standout for them. For me, it's always going to be Black Panther, because that dude, because when you watch this movie, you feel like no one can really take him down. Like, no one is equally as matched as Black Panther is. And his motivation in this movie is just so damn good. Like, he plows through all these characters that tries to stop him, but, like, he just cannot be stopped at all. Like, when it comes to hand-to-hand combat, nobody can stop him. And the addition of Spider-Man, like, look, I've said it time and time and again, I will forever say this. This is my favorite Spider-Man, because of the fact that it's the Spider-Man I always envisioned. I've read Spider-Man comics, and with the movies, they haven't gotten that whole, he's a high schooler. Like, sure, the Spider-Man movies had him in high school, but they didn't look like the part at all. They didn't look like they were in high school. Even with Andrew Garfield, who I would say at the time looked more like, you can buy him that he's a senior, but with, Tom Holland Spider-Man, I feel he is the best Spider-Man out there, because of the fact that, he looks the part. Like, he's my age and he looks the part. And look, don't get me wrong, I enjoyed, Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield's interpretation of the character, but for me, when they do it comic book accurately, that's when I'm like, that's my favorite one. Like, it doesn't get any better than that one. Like, much like Ben Affleck's Batman, like, he's my favorite Batman because he so much reminds me of the comic book Batman. And, with Tom Holland Spider-Man, I've seen some people, I've seen posts written by, some people that I know that they didn't like them because they didn't like Tom Holland Spider-Man because he looked so young. And, I get it, because they haven't read the comics. They're not, fans of the comics like I am, and they've only been introduced to this character through the movies, and, that's fine. But for me, I always go back to, as I said, he's my favorite Spider-Man, because not only does he look like a high schooler, but he has that very quippy, very talkative, he very much talks a lot, much like he does in the comics, and he's just having a blast as Spider-Man, so damn good. I am looking forward to Tom Holland Spider-Man in the next Spider-Man movie, which is great. But, yeah, he's so wonderful. But, of course, the standout for me, obviously, was Black Panther, as I said before. Cannot wait for both of their movies to come out. So, yeah. So, to recap my top 5 Marvel movies. Number 5, Iron Man. Number 4, Captain America Winter Soldier. Number 3, Guardians of the Galaxy. Number 2, The Avengers. And my number 1 is Captain America Civil War. Alright, now it's time for my my list of ranking all the DC/Marvel movies of this year. So, here's the appetizer of this episode. So there was 6. So there was 2 DC movies and 3 Marvel movies. Starting off with number 6 is a movie that, and before I get into it, look, I enjoyed, just because, look, I enjoyed all these movies in a way. I did. If I thought they were so bad and I didn't love them at all, I wouldn't even mention them. But they're all here on my list. So starting with number 6 is Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. What? Yeah, I know that's shocking because, I'm mainly known as a DC fan. I love DC and love them more than Marvel, even though I love both, but preference-wise, I'm DC guy. And, it was a movie, I've been waiting to see, ever since they announced it. Been waiting to see what it was going to be like. I always envisioned that, they were going to make, Batman win. Because, Batman's popular and whatnot, or it could be Superman wins. And so for me, I always felt like towards when we got closer and closer to this movie, closer and closer to this movie, I always felt like, they're going to let Superman win. Because for me, it's always been about, Batman doesn't know Superman and whatnot. He's just now being introduced to this character. So, obviously, in the movie, not the case at all. Batman in this movie has been introduced, has been studying Superman and whatnot. And, it's like they announced this movie in 2013, and, we've been waiting 3 years. There's been so many rumors. We got the casting, and then we got, the first looks and all. So I'll take it back to the beginning. First heard it, blew my mind. This blew my mind, and who's going to play Batman? Obviously, I wasn't one of those people who was like, I want to see Christian Bale come back. Because with that trilogy, I feel, it's its own thing. It doesn't need Superman. It's its own realistic world and whatnot. So, yeah. So what can I say about Batman v Superman that I like, that I haven't, said already? Well, basically going to be retelling what I liked and what I didn't like. Look, I loved Ben Affleck's Batman. He is my favorite Batman, live action wise. He just brings that, not only the look of it, but sort of that comic book feel to it. He is the comic book Batman, and especially when he kicks major ass in that warehouse fight scene. That is a Batman I want to see fight. That's Batman for me. And, I was kind of comparing that fight scene to the comics while everyone else was like, oh, he's fighting in the video games, which I'll give him that. But for me, it's always been oh my God, he's fighting like he does in the comics. And love it. Of course, Henry Cavill Superman, which I kind of feel I wish he kind of was, after a year and, what was it, 6 months or something like that, that's said in the movie. I would have loved to see him be more comfortable, knows what he's doing in this movie, but whatever. But, performance-wise, I thought he was great. Everyone did great, especially Jeremy Irons as Alfred. Come on, best Alfred ever. I love that he has that sarcastic tone and whatnot, kind of harsh humor and whatnot. Just, I love it so much. And, he's a good-looking Alfred, if I may say so. So, yeah, but, of course, why it's at my number 6 is probably because, it's the Batman movie. Look, I'm glad it exists, but it's not the Batman movie I was expecting to see. What really kills it for me, why it's at number 6, is because of the fact that, it's Superman having to fight, Batman. He's being forced to fight Batman, even though when he doesn't want to. Which, in the movie, Lex Luthor has Martha Kent, and, the Martha thing does not bother me at all. Even though, it's really about why they went with that. Like, hey, he has Lex Luthor has Superman's mother. It's like, no, you guys just not did that. Because in the movie, if you watch the movie, it was very much leading up to them wanting to, like, up to, them going to eventually fight each other. Because, in the movie, Superman tells them, don't turn it on. Don't turn that bat signal on. Like, no one needs you anymore. I'm here. And so, Batman being Batman, he turns on that signal, ready for a fight. And that would have been great. Like, look, I've always said, like, for me, I would have loved to see them, like, go to that, and then how it ends, it could, like, Wonder Woman just could have came in and just be like, hey, you two idiots need to knock it off. We have bigger problems over here, and then you can have Doomsday and that whole fight. Like, that just would have been better. Like, that for me would have just been like, yeah, this is the Batman v Superman movie I wanted to see. Like, totally. So, yeah, Batman v Superman, number 6. Number 5, X-Men Apocalypse. Look, like I said before, like, I enjoyed all these movies of my whole ranking of all these movies. Like, I liked it. So, with X-Men Apocalypse, it was great, but I don't know what it was. I remember walking out of the theater and just being like, I don't know what it was. What is it that I'm just like, it was alright. Like, this movie was okay. And I think after thinking about it, I think it was because of the fact that Mystique in this movie, Jennifer Lawrence as Mystique, I felt that she was just not giving all her 100%, and she was just not really wanting to do it, and so I think that's what gave me that feeling of like, it was alright, but I don't know. But it's fine, but I loved it overall. Like, look, I love the chemistry between Jean Grey and Scott Summers. Like, it was so great. I loved it. And the Wolverine cameo, like, that's a cameo that, like, I understood, like, why, like I get the cameo. Like, that's basically telling them, like, what to expect in the next Wolverine movie. And that was a little taste and whatnot. So, yeah, I love that. Of course, I gotta mention the whole Evan Peters Quicksilver scene. Very fun, very fun. Just so great. Like, it's very much like that scene in X-Men Days of Future Past times 100. Just more fun. Just the visuals and how fast he's going. Just so wonderful. So yeah, X-Men Apocalypse. For my number 4, gotta go with Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange, like, I loved it. I love the fact that it was, Iron Man-esque, but, with Stephen Strange, I feel he's more of an asshole than Tony Stark is. Like, that's how I feel. Like, Tony Stark is an asshole, but he's not an asshole like Doctor Strange is, because, as I mentioned I believe I mentioned this when I talked Doctor Strange and my review, is that he has a scene where he's talking to, the nurse, and it just goes off on her, just trying to make her feel bad, like he is, because he lost his hands and whatnot. So yeah, Doctor Strange, visually, yeah, it's trippy, and yeah, like, when, he goes through this, shows, like, basically Ancient One shows Doctor Strange, like, there's so much more to the universe, and, that first time she shows him there's more to it than this and whatnot. Just great visuals, and just, it's so trippy, and I love it. And, I am, like, I don't know if they're going to do a Doctor Strange 2, but if they are, I cannot wait. So, yeah, Doctor Strange, number 4. For my number 3, Suicide Squad. Now, yeah, it's crazy how much I love this movie more than Batman v Superman, even though I have my minor problems with it. And with Suicide Squad, you get what you were getting for. Like, you get, like, very much like Batman v Superman. Like, I didn't like Batman v Superman because it's not the Batman v Superman movie I wanted to see. Like, there were certain things I wanted, like, as I said before, there's some things they should have changed and whatnot. But Suicide Squad, minus the villain, just, I don't know what that was all about, getting jiggy with it and whatnot. I love making that reference. But, yeah, that whole last act, and it's very generic and whatnot, but it's very much a movie that has great characters, but put into a bad movie is what it kind of is. But it's still, for me, it's still fun as hell to watch. So, yeah, Suicide Squad, I loved everything about it. Like, I loved that it was just like the marketing. You watch the marketing, it's just like, it just gives you that vibe that it's going to be a fun movie. And it really much is, with the colors and all that stuff. It's just so great. And would I want to see a Suicide Squad 2 movie? I really would. Like, especially now that we're getting Deathstroke in the DC Cinematic Universe. Like, if they are gonna, like, because I know superhero movies tend to kill off, their main bad guy in the movies and whatnot, and which I say, for certain characters, I think you can. Like, your godlike characters, sure, you can kill them off. But if it's just like a human being with, super strength, or sort of like Deathstroke, like he's a human who's like an assassin, who doesn't really need to be killed off, then yeah, just keep him. So if there's going to be a Suicide Squad 2, I really, I would love to see it. Yeah, I would totally love to see it. But add an addition of Deathstroke in it, if he's not killed off in the Batman movie. But yeah, Suicide Squad, loved it, even though I had my minor issues with it. It's my number 3. So, with number 2, this was hard. I'll be honest, this was hard, but, I think it's kind of obvious what my last 2 are. So, starting with number 2, Deadpool. I know. It's like, how could you put Deadpool below, Civil War and whatnot? And, it comes back to why I love Civil War so much. But let's talk about Deadpool real quick. Deadpool, look, it would have been my number 1 spot had, Civil War not come out this year. And Civil War being just fucking incredible. But Deadpool, it's so great. The only problem I have with it is, the villain. Which, I'm glad they don't spend much time on him, because it's Deadpool. This is very much about Deadpool, and they got it so damn right. From the humor to casting-wise, look, Ryan Reynolds has been, I'll say it. Ryan Reynolds was born to play Deadpool. Oh my god, I could watch this movie forever. And I showed my mom Deadpool, and it's pretty nuts how much she loved it, because it's not your your Captain America movie where it's all, it's not adult themes and whatnot. And it's just, it's a different kind of superhero movie and whatnot. And Deadpool, look, I still laugh at the jokes and whatnot. Just the way Ryan Reynolds delivers them. It's just so great. I am honestly looking forward to Deadpool 2. And, I am very interested in how they're going to involve Cable in it. So, yeah, Deadpool just, oh my god, it's talk about being redeemed. Fox redeemed Deadpool in a big way for the movies. Just, so great. And honestly, Fox can keep the X-Men. Give me more Deadpool movies than X-Men, because, if you give X-Men back to Marvel, you don't get Deadpool unless, they put them in the Netflix series, which I don't see that happening at all. So, yeah, that's just, Deadpool. So damn good. Even Colossus, oh my god. I didn't even know Colossus in the comics is Russian. I did not know that at all. Come on. And he looks so much like in the comics. It's so great. I love the look of this Colossus more than the Colossus we got in the X-Men movies. So awesome. So, yeah, Deadpool, number 2. And of course, as I said, my number 1 is Captain America Civil War. Oh my god. Like, as I said, like, I already gave you my reasons why I love Civil War so much. Because of the fact that, you get, especially, like, if you've been keeping up with these Marvel movies, Marvel Cinematic Universe movies, you get where they're coming from. So, yeah, and it's all tons of fun and whatnot. So, yeah, so that's all my top fives and ranking all the DC Marvel movies. So yeah, so yeah, that's Spoiler Appetite. I'm Tristan, and you just been spoiled.